Part of enjoying a big backyard is getting it ready for the summer, and that's what we're about to do. Okay, so prep work in the orchard is definitely a late winter going into spring summer thing, but it's also kind of a year-round thing. So there was a tremendous amount of pruning that's happened over the last month or so. Most of it happened in one day because I got this sweet tool. But just to give you an example of how glorious this bad boy is, oh, that's pretty awesome. So lots of pruning happens in late winter. There are different trees that need to happen at different times, but for the sake of this video, when you're opening up the backyard, the orchard's a big part of it for me. So you can see some pears on this tree. There's quite a lot actually. There was nothing on this thing 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. Big heavy pruning allowed it to push a bunch of energy to certain limbs. We got peaches over here. We got plums here, apples, cherries, nectarines, and some other things that are more experimental. But the prep work is absolutely essential so that when summertime hits, we've got those winter chill hours have already done their work. Now we let the sun grow these bad boys and hopefully have a lot of sweet fruit that people can grab right off the tree and enjoy or we can share with friends. So in the front yard, it's mostly about soil prep and tree prep. So we've had this property for almost 10 years, but we're adding trees all the time. So it's always in process. There's always different levels of growth and nurturing and blooming. So in our area, we love the red buds. They pop. They're one of the first things to bloom early spring. And actually it becomes sad when they go from the red pink and start blooming out green like this one in the center. These are Vitex, these blow up and get purple and blue and they're amazing. But we're adding fertility to the soil. We're adding some compost and some nutrients. Too bad the smell can't come through the phone because I'm sure you'd love that. And we're putting mulch on everything. But as you can see, just like we talked about before, there's sod from last year that will come up and thicken. We'll add soil, we'll level this all out, and then we have a couple of them that didn't make it through the winter that we'll probably replace, but not till next year because you've got to get the prep right at the right time. But most of what we're doing is geared towards late spring, all of summer, and early fall, which is when we can have our heyday outside here. So soil prep, ground prep, and sod is a big part for us of the backyard. I like St. Augustine, which is a good turf grass for our area, just because it takes all the heat and does well in drought. But most of the work for new sod, in my opinion, in our area is done in the fall. We like to get it down in the fall so it can stay wet and cool and safe and get compacted a little bit through all the rains of the fall and the winter, get that spring rain. And then as the sun starts coming out, you can tell it's not really pretty yet, but we're just days or weeks away where you're seeing that old dormant grass and you're also seeing the new stuff come through. So we're literally days and weeks, we're a couple of really beautiful sunny days away from this being thick, green, fun to walk on barefoot in summer and really enjoyable out here. The garden is part of the fun, at least for me, because we do like to eat some of what we grow here. One of my favorite things when we're hosting is that people can come grab a berry off the vine and eat it right there. If you like cherry tomatoes, grab them and go. We have some friends whose kids love those things as well as my kids. And I really, truly enjoy it. I'll grow it all year long for that one day, the 4th of July party or whatever it is, when people come grab them and go. So you can't see much happening here, but as we get prepped for the year, we've added some new compost to the top of the soil. We've mulched it, and believe it or not, there's a lot happening underneath this soil. So that's part of the make ready, is getting the soil ready, getting some mulch out, getting some seeds in the ground. I'll show you in a minute some plants we have on standby. As soon as we feel comfortable, we'll get those in the ground. All right, so occasionally the garden bleeds over into the landscaping, and you can label those however you want. But when I say garden, I'm typically thinking edible. And when I think landscaping, I'm thinking ornamental, pretty, orderly, clean, all those things. But occasionally it bleeds over. I happen to have a couple of spots where we pulled some hollies out that didn't make it. And thinking ahead to this year, I left those spots bare, added a little bit nutrient dense soil, some compost and a little bit of supplement, and then we've added some strawberries. So strawberries in our area need a little bit of extra love. This is an easy accessible area for us to do that. So it's early, but when the dead heat of summer goes, these strawberries will leg out and expand and hopefully fill in sort of an underground cover layer. So instead of just a pretty ground cover, hopefully we'll have a pretty and edible ground cover right here outside the greenhouse next to the house. So we're prepping that now, and will benefit mid to late summer. And as you can see, sometimes the garden bleeds over into the patio, because as you're picking up seedlings and plants, they gotta go somewhere. One of my absolute favorite parts about opening up the backyard for summer is getting the pond ready. Some of the work is not as fun. We've dug out some logs and things that have fallen in over the winter. We've also done a lot of transplanting. So you may or may not be able to see down here on the shore, That right there is literally just a cutting that we took off the apple tree. Some of them will make it, some of them won't. All the way around the perimeter, there's apples, plums, peaches, and pears, because as I prune the trees in the orchard, we want to get 1 or 2 or 3 more in the ground. If you look over here, that's probably a 20-foot tall cottonwood tree. You probably can't see it, but if you can, that's literally just a broken limb off of a much larger cottonwood tree that I stuck in the mud a few years back. So way here in the back, there's some crepe myrtles we've done that with, there's some peach trees we've done that with. So as we're cleaning up, and you can see right over here, these are some of the logs that had previously been cut and fallen in, or we had just kind of let sit in. They dried out through some drought period last year, and then when the rain started coming, they floated to the top. We took advantage of that to pull those out. We cleaned up the dock a little bit. We're not finished. You can still see some chairs that fell in there that we haven't gotten out yet. But getting the pond ready, we can sit under the tree house in the shade, put a hammock in there, bring back a rocking chair, and really enjoy the summer. I could probably say that every part of the backyard is my favorite part, because obviously I'm a backyard outside guy, but the grilling area is where a ton of entertaining sort of hovers around and centers around. So a couple things I do every year. This year I actually had to replace a part on one of my smokers, and so prepping grills, restocking wood chips, restocking charcoal, checking the amount of propane and gas, simple things like restocking some paper towel rolls. I've got an outside fridge, checking things like that, restocking it, but also cleaning them, doing a little filter check and stuff like that. Really making sure things are dialed in, that they're not overly gunky, because I don't want to find out an hour before a bunch of guests show up that something doesn't work or that needs to be completely cleaned out. So I bring out the shop vac, make sure I've cleaned out any old charcoal dust and things like that, clean those grill tops, do a little burnout, clean up, and really get ready for grilling season. An obvious one, but a really impactful one, is getting your pool ready. So this year we did a little bit more than we would normally need to do to buy us another few years of pretty low maintenance pool usage. We actually replaced all of our filters in the pool, and we replaced the chlorinator that automatically feeds chlorine tabs into the pool in sort of a timed out way. You don't have to do that stuff every year, and you might not have to do that stuff really almost ever, but be checking those things before you get into your heavy use, high fun, high entertainment outdoor period of the year. And you might be checking for chipped tile or a busted line. We actually replaced our pool cleaner this year as well and upgraded. Again, don't need to do that, certainly don't need to do it every year, but now's the time to check that. And the reason is, now that we're finished with all that, we have one more little thing to do on a light, if I'm being honest, but we've got all the important stuff done. I feel extraordinarily confident we can have a end of the season baseball pool party and have 20 kids in here, and we can handle that level of usage. The chlorine's gonna be fine, the filter's gonna be fine, people are gonna be fun. I'm gonna be proud to have people back here in the pool, nothing major going on or wrong with it, and then I'll be able to enjoy that the rest of the year, if not multiple years, because we put in the work at the right time early to enjoy it for the rest of the year. I'll tell you one thing that's less exciting but super impactful is a little bit of pressure washing. So, you know, you might have concrete where you've had some standing water or some spills, or even like we have rust that'll come out of the patio chairs every once in a while. No big deal, that's fine, but this is the time of year that I like to get all that cleaned up. We actually have a pressure washer at the office for our real estate company. You can rent one, you can actually buy one at Harbor Freight pretty affordably. But I like to get all that cleaned up, get the gunk out of the way, and set it just fresh for a new season. Things look new or newer if you get them cleaned up. And while you're pressure washing, you can look at things. If you have a pool, you can look at some of that mastic, you can look at some of the edging, you can do that little touch-up trim work, like even right here on the gutter downspouts, there's a little paint. Those are very, very simple jobs that if you do them now, you'll enjoy them by all means the rest of the spring, the summer, the fall, probably for a couple of years. You're not gonna have to do all of this every year. But if you get out here and kind of run through that checklist, the on the ground pressure wash, clean up, tidy up, touch up stuff is simple to do, usually doesn't cost much, if anything, and goes a long, long way to really enjoying the space the rest of the year. Another one of those open the backyard prep, get ready deals is a little bit of stain or maybe paint. Here's a great example of a very well-used play area where you just need a coat of stain. You can see up under here where it's protected, it's much darker, but if you got a lot of sun beating down or lots of kiddos' shoes and feet coming all through here and around here, whether it's a play set or we got some touch-up stain on the pergola or even the dock out there, a little bit of stain, this is the time of year. Before the dead heat of the summer, the wood will receive that stain a little bit better. You'll have a chance to open up, reinvigorate, make it feel new, and give it probably 3, 4, or 5 more years of life. I'd be pretty selective with what kind of stain you're using, but this is the time of year to look at stain or paint on any of your outdoor furniture, play sets, pergolas, covers, maybe some furniture, picnic tables, chairs, things like that. But if you'll do it now, you'll enjoy it all the rest of the season, and you won't be working all year. You'll be enjoying and playing through late spring, summer, and the fall, which here in North Texas are the best times to be outside. Another spot that I absolutely love in the backyard but does require a little bit of maintenance and prep is the fire pit. Also the fireplace, but the fire pit is where we do big fires with real wood. Sometimes we're burning brush, garden scraps, other times we just throw in here cut wood. But over the fall and the winter, when we do a lot of fires, a lot of dinners out here, a lot of s'mores, things like that, as you can see, we haven't done this yet, you get a lot of buildup of ash. And then we have some pretty reasonable summer nights where we're gonna wanna use this thing, but we don't wanna be building that fire up really, really high. So you do need to dig some of this out, haul it out. Depending on what you've got planted in other places, some of that ash will be great in your soil or your beds, again, depending on what you have in there. But that's something that we're gonna get done here in the next week or so, and we'll be right back to our core lower level base, be able to build another year's worth of fire. Now, if you are like I am, and all of the aspects of your backyard are a big part of your life, a big part of inviting people in, entertaining, and enjoying your property, it doesn't take a ton of work, but it does take a little bit of forethought. Late winter, early springtime is an ideal time to do it. But if you happen to be catching this and you got a reminder or two, or you're thinking about installing some of these things that you didn't have yet, don't wait until next year in late winter or early spring. Do it now. Enjoy it as fast as you can. There are ideal times to do everything, but life's not always ideal. Get out, enjoy the backyard, build your dream. Let us know if we can help you in any way, and comment below what you liked about what we're doing, what you do to open your backyard up, and go enjoy the outdoors.